whatever. I'd like to call the Beavercreek Township Zoning Commission meeting for December the 5th, 2025 to order. All right, let us do the pledge.
You just got
Fall off the chair.
Oh.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ms. Horton? Here. Mr. Geis?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Ms. Stahl?
Here. Okay, before opening the agenda, I just want to check a few things. The public meeting was announced.
The public meeting for this, since it's a text change, was advertised in the paper, so it was done.
Within the time restrictions required?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Everyone here received the agenda in a timely fashion to have reviewed it? Yes? Yes. Mr. Hill, did you?
I'm sorry.
Did you receive the agenda in a timely fashion to review it?
I did.
Okay, wonderful. Anyone here among us have a conflict of interest? Okay. And we have a quorum, obviously. Thank you, Mr. Hill, for making a full board for us again this evening. Let's see. Anyone here feel as if they have violated the sunshine law in any way?
No.
Okay, wonderful. And I ask that in light of the most recent public request for us to, the public records review, just making certain that we all are in compliance with that sort of thing. Okay, with that, a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay,
Ms. Horton?
Yes.
Mr. Geis?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Stahl?
yes. And we'll start with case number 841, and would you like to share that with us?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'd like to first thank Lori for attending tonight. Melissa had some family business she had to attend to, so she's out of the office. But we'll, yeah.
It's a blast from the past.
I know. Wait,
Is
what's
it
your
possible to turn the audio down? I hear nothing but echoes.
It's very loud.
Let me work on that.
name? I like to hear myself.
I'm sitting right next to Ann and I can't hear a word she's saying.
Some might say that's a blessing in
better.
disguise.
Keep it right there.
Yes.
Is that better?
Much better.
Okay.
Now you have to speak from the diaphragm when you
Yeah, you have to project now.
Okay. Can you
Okay.
hear me? Okay.
So anyways, we'll get started with case 841. It's a text change. Process so far, the trustees passed resolution 2023-1028 CDR-A on October 28th, 2024. Generally, that should be 2024, but that's how the thing read, so that's how it is. That was forwarded to Greene County Regional Planning Commission, and it was unanimously approved on November 19th, 2024, with modifications suggested by the Greene County Prosecutor's Office. The only thing that happened with that, the RPCC does not have their full commission meetings in the months of November and December. So the executive committee votes on it, and that's binding for their recommendation. So the executive committee approved it with the recommendations that I'll go through momentarily. So just to bring full disclosure to how that worked. So here's the original proposed text that was sent to RPCC, and I'll go ahead and read it. Adult use cannabis processing. This was added to Article 3, Section 302 of the definitions. Adult use cannabis processing, a facility defined under Section 3780.01 of the Ohio Revised Code and subject to all the regulations in Chapter 3780 of the Ohio Revised Code. And adult use cultivating, a facility defined under Section 3780.01 of the Ohio Revised Code and subject to all the regulations of Chapter 3780 of the Ohio Revised Code. And then in Article 13, Section 16.02, agricultural permitted principal uses, adult use cultivation and processing facilities not under an easement as defined in this resolution and further defined and regulated in Chapter 3780 of the Ohio Revised Code and shall be limited to not more than one adult use cultivation and processing facility. Greene County Prosecutor's Office looked at this, and they had a couple of recommendations and changes that were submitted to RPCC. I agree that those were good changes to make sure that we fit in line with the statute. So this is what the text coming from RPCC said. Adult use cannabis processor, a facility defined under 378001 of the Ohio Revised Code and subject to all the regulations of Chapter 3780 of the Ohio Revised Code. An adult use cannabis cultivation facility, a facility defined under 378001 of the Ohio Revised Code and subject to all the regulations of 3780 of the Ohio Revised Code. And then moving on to Article 16, Section 1602, agricultural permitted uses, principal permitted uses. Adult use cannabis operators, including cultivators and processors, but excluding adult use cannabis dispensaries, as defined and regulated in Chapter 3780 of the Ohio Revised Code, not under an easement, shall be limited to not more than one operating within the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township, Greene County, Ohio. So a comparison of the original versus proposed, you can see in Article 3, Section 302, change adult use cannabis processing to adult use processor to match the language in the Ohio Revised Code, and adult use cultivation to cultivation facility. And then in Article 16, Section 1602, the agricultural permitted principal uses, it basically kind of switched everything around to closely match, or to match, the wording in the Ohio Revised Code. And that reads that adult use cannabis operators, including cultivators and processors, but excluding adult use cannabis dispensaries, as defined and regulated in 3780 of the Ohio Revised Code, not under an easement, shall be limited to no more than one operating within the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township, Greene County, Ohio. Oh, skip the slide. Our staff recommends approval of this text amendment to the Beavercreek Township zoning resolution as proposed by the Greene County Regional Planning Commission. The reason for the change did come at the recommendation of the prosecutor's office. And so I feel pretty confident that it's wordsmithed now well enough that we can enter it into the code. And these additions to the zoning resolution reflect the action by the Beavercreek Township trustees to regulate adult use cannabis in the unincorporated areas of the township. That's what I have.
So question about the easement language, if you would just show it really quick. I know that you guys were talking about that earlier, but I just want to make sure. So I took it to believe that both the passages that contain the easement ones, the exclusion, meant that limitation would not apply if the facility is located on land that is subject to an easement. Is that correct?
Or is it under an easement? Yeah, where it couldn't be located within an easement.
Okay.
And, thinking that through a little bit, I think there's all kinds of easements. I mean, it could even be conservation easements. So they're just making sure that they're excluded outside of those things.
Okay.
Andy, can I get a clarification on something?
Sure.
If you look at the staff report,
Yes, sir.
the lower portion of it is the recommendations from the prosecutor's office,
Yes, sir.
okay? Article 16, Section 1602, if you look at that language that was sent from the prosecutor's office and approved by the Regional Planning Committee, it doesn't seem to line up with the Article 16, Section 1602 that we have in the proposed changes.
From the original ones or from,
I mean, this is,
If you can, go ahead.
Would it help if he pulled up Article 16? Would that make it easier to explain?
I'm just trying to make sure that I make sure what your
is
question
this the changes we're proposing this evening?
Yeah, the second part that
Proposed
Mike was
changes,
saying.
yes.
Yes. If I could approach the bench, I can show you what I'm talking about.
I'll approach you. How's that?
No, do it.
We'll meet in the middle. We'll meet right here.
We do that well, don't we? Okay.
See that? And then there's this.
This was what was originally sent to RPCC.
Oh,
And
then-
so,
But was it what we adopted on October 28th, 2023?
Because we had met about this previously
Yes.
regarding Siebenthalers.
for the medical marijuana
Yeah.
usage.
So
Correct.
that's what you're talking about, Ann?
That's what I was talking about. So they,
I don't know that I've seen,
So here's-
if this tracks this, I don't know that
Yeah,
I've seen
here-
that.
you can have that. Take a look at that.
So this is in there.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, got it.
so what you're saying is, in the documents that you gave to us, adult use processing and
It's-
cultivation are
it's
the
the last
two
page,
language
isn't
changes. That's it.
Correct.
My printer must
Not dispensary.
In terms of terminology, yes.
No, I just pulled up the 1602 in our code.
Right.
And they're talking about medical marijuana. Now that it's changed
So
to
the proposed
recreational, is that why we're deleting the medical marijuana portion out of the new language?
Right, because now, so if you were authorized to do medical marijuana, you're automatically authorized to do the
Rec- or
adult use
whatever.
cannabis. There, but nobody actually ever applied for that here in the township. But they are not issuing any more medical marijuana licenses.
Right.
Because it now falls under the adult use cannabis licenses.
Okay.
So we're just trying to make it all sort of fit with
So is
the-
this, if this new regulation, will it replace this in our zoning code as far as deleting the medical marijuana and this new language will be
That's the point of
inserted?
this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when we did that originally in the 1602, did we say there shall be no more than one operating within the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township? Did that include, go to the next slide.
I'm gonna bring up the resolution real quick,
Here it is, Ann. I got it right here if I can get.
just so we can all see it.
No more than one cultivating and processing.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with selling it.
Correct. That's my question now.
Yeah, that's
Still the same,
still the same. It excludes the dispensaries.
excluding dispensaries.
Excluding.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
So does that mean excluding that they can't come in here, or excluding that this terminology doesn't apply to them?
Excluding that they can't, there won't be permits for dispensaries in the township.
So what is the rationale for having this if we know they're not going to do any more licenses, whether it's called adult use or medical?
I think she
They
said
will,
it
they will
was
still do adult, the new one is adult use.
Yeah.
They still do.
Yeah, those will be the license that will be issued.
They just don't do ones that they call medical marijuana anymore.
Now, they're leaving the medical marijuana statutes in there for those that did exist prior to it. But any new ones will now be adult use cannabis.
Now, the one that the company. The
Siebenthaler one?
The Siebenthaler one, are they out of the picture now? I mean,
Yeah, they never actually.
I know they
um,
never did anything, so.
They never got a license.
Oh, they didn't get the license, okay.
But that is already zoned for that, correct?
Well, it's zoned agricultural.
It's
It's
zoned
still
ag.
agricultural.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, this is just one of the principal permitted uses in the agricultural district, the A1.
I'd like to rezone my house.
One other quick question.
Yes, sir.
This appears to define adult use cultivating, adult use cannabis processing, but the language refers to adult use cannabis operators. Is that a defined term?
It is.
It is within the Ohio Revised
Okay.
Code. And operators basically gives you kind of a blanket of all those, so that's why we say excluding the dispensaries.
I get it.
Yeah, their terminology, it was pretty good with the medical marijuana as far as defining each one of the individual categories. With the adult use cannabis, it kind of started lumping things together. And it got a little messy at some places, in my opinion.
It still feels messy to me, so help us understand, adopting this, are we saying, it said exclusion, so, right? So we are not opening ourselves up to allowing those dispensaries?
Correct.
Correct,
Correct.
retail establishments, okay.
Correct.
Only the cultivators, cultivation facility and processing facility are allowed within the A1 zoning district. Now, there was lengthy discussion at this, through several trustees' meetings about the potential for bringing the dispensaries online. There's some tax money that's supposedly floating around out there that people don't seem to be getting. I think that the trustees felt that the potential benefit didn't outweigh the risk to the community.
And there was some review actually of during the vote, of the general election, they looked at how the precincts in Beavercreek Township actually voted, because you can break it down. And the precincts voted in each one that not in favor of. So that kind of went to it, because
I
that's
do
what.
remember that.
And there's no possible way of I'm gonna say a loophole for lack of a better term.
Well, so here's what I did, because that was my concern. So I wrote some language down of adding that in there, whether or not we want to include that, but that was my concern. Just to make it, and my thing was, if we want to explicitly prevent, establishment of a facility in the township that is gonna sell marijuana, I just feel like to make it clear that we should have suggested language within this it's written that says, here's what all this language is fine, but somehow or another, like I put in here that could add in, adult use cannabis dispensary shall not be permitted within the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township. And then adding it at the end about facilities, about not under easement, and then, however, any facility that engages in the retail sale of cannabis, including dispensaries, shall be expressly prohibited. I mean, just so it's like, there's no gray and all that.
I
Now,
think
that was my-
that's
that was
where I
was.
kind of was when I read this. I'm like, so you're saying it says exclusion, but is there any way that could be misinterpreted? Because it doesn't seem crystal clear to me in this new language.
I mean, I don't see any reason why you couldn't recommend to add
Yeah, to
that
add that.
language if that makes you more comfortable that it's.
Then I have a
more
question,
clear.
as far as, does the Ohio Revised Code define adult use cannabis? I mean, because I think of cannabis, the weed, marijuana, or whatever, but I mean, they have gummy bears, they have brownies.
there's all different ways of
Is there
processing.
something in there to protect us from somebody setting up an agritourism thing on their farm that are selling
Brownies.
brownies and gummy bears,
Yeah, I mean, they have to be
Is that considered
licensed
a
and to
dispensary?
do that, yes.
Okay, I don't know, I mean,
Yeah, to sell any of that, they have to be licensed.
anything with cannabis in it. Okay.
Okay. So I had sent an email, you responded this morning, I had sent an email about process. And since I had sent that, I thought, and when you responded to me, it didn't go to everyone, that perhaps you could share that process so that we're all clear, because if we're gonna make a recommendation, I
Sure.
want everybody to understand where this came from, how it goes, and what the process is and the consequences of doing a recommendation.
Sure. There are basically three ways that a text amendment could be initiated to Beavercreek Township. Trustees initiated, zoning commission initiated, or anyone could file an application to have that initiated. In this case, the trustees initiated that to move forward when they passed the regulations or the resolution basically saying we're going to allow this and not allow that. So that initiated that text change. I sent that on and pretty much directed me to come up with that language. So I did that. I sent a copy to Don. I then forwarded on to RPCC for their review, and then that kicked off where we're at today. They reviewed it, the prosecutor took a look at it and made a change. There's also, within our view, because I want to do this probably in February or March or maybe April of next year. I have a lot of code changes, definition things and things that I want to work on as a workshop, where you will then take my recommendation from staff and say, okay, we want to initiate a text change, and then it goes through the process. The same process happens. Has to go to RPCC, then you guys hear it in public hearing, and then the trustees hear it. Now, who initiates that process is where the three different processes come in. Does that help?
It does.
Okay.
And the other thing, and I kind of knew that anyway, but when I received this, I thought to myself, well, did this come from Miami Valley Regional Planning? And how does that happen? I didn't see it coming from trustees back through you, back to them. I
Yeah.
didn't follow that.
Before you guys can actually have a public hearing on it, it has to be heard by RPCC. Crazy part of the statute, it's kind of antiquated, but that's how it works
And that's for all texts or for everything?
for everything.
Okay.
Well, and one thing that I do wanna note too is.
Well,
that-
wait, not
Okay.
everything.
Yeah.
Sorry. Specific site plan review does not go to RPCC. That comes later with their plating process.
Anytime there's a zoning amendment or text amendment, that goes to RPCC
Right.
first.
So if there was a major modification or something like that, it would not go, or specific site plan approval. I just didn't want to say everything goes. I wanted to make that clarification.
Well, and the next thing I was gonna ask is, but wait a minute, it was procedural for Russ, so now I'm confused, okay.
And Russ had to go back through RPCC because they're changing the original PUD.
Okay.
If they were just doing a modification or something to that PUD,
You could have done it at your level.
yeah,
Okay,
so,
all right.
did I do good, Don? Explain that? Okay.
So one of the questions that I had was, so if we recommend something, whether it's accepted or, if, I'll leave it late, never mind.
Okay, well, here, I'm gonna do one in favor of the second one too, but I still want that other part added. So when I was looking at it, the first one with the summary,
Yes.
it kinda wasn't really distinguishing between the two, cultivation, processing, and then allowing, like, cultivation. So in the second one, when I was writing some notes down, it combines cultivation and processing into a single category. So that way it means that there's only one facility. So, the other way it was, they can then do both cultivate and process is allowed. So that's the difference between.
do you mean-
The second one.
Do you mean on here, the first and
Yeah, so
second
the
thing?
first one was actually, in my opinion, the first one was distinguishing between cultivation and processing as separate activities. That was written. And then
The
when it was
first one is
revised-
to the definition
Yeah,
section.
and then when they revised it, it more combined the cultivation and processing into a single category. So, meaning only one facility. That's how I would interpret it. Is that what that is interpreting as?
I don't think that was the intent of the trustees. I think, as I recall, they said there could be one cultivation and one processing,
2 facilities.
Yeah,
at
but
most, yeah.
So, but what about in the second revision? That's what I'm comparing the two between them.
let me go back to these, to the comparison. So the original one, because I said cultivation, not limited to one adult use cultivation and processing facility. The second one basically says including cultivators and processors, but excluding adult use cannabis style. And so they were saying, I think I understand what you're saying. It's kind of where's the and or the or?
The and or.
Yeah, and so this one, the second one basically says
Because I'm interpreting. the
adult
second
use
one-
cannabis operator, if you take all the commas out,
Yeah,
adult use cannabis operators shall be limited to not more than one operating within the unincorporated township.
so
If
then
you,
I interpreted that to mean it as the one thing. So that's why, I don't know, because I was, the way I
See,
interpreted
well-
it, it combined cultivating and processing into a single category, how it's written.
So what you're suggesting is to change the language to
No,
shall,
I'm not saying I want to change it, I'm just saying it's more limiting.
it is more limited, I agree.
So I
So
just wanted to note that.
I
Okay.
think
That's
the
how I was
reason that the
interpreting it.
prosecutor did that is so under the statute, adult use cannabis operators includes cultivators, processors, and dispensaries. So when the prosecutor changed it to adult use cannabis operators shall be limited to not more than one operating within the unincorporated area, I think the intent is still it could be one of each operator, because they're lumped together under the definition of operators, under the statute. But I can see why it is
Yeah, it
confusing.
was just confusing. And
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds
No, I
more
understand.
streamlined, I mean, for sure, the way it's written, but I was just like, okay,
So you could almost add not more than one
Of
of
each.
each.
so if you added the language of each, you think that that would match the intent?
Yeah, I
I
think
do.
so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if you said of each, that would match what they were intending.
yeah, so it's not a potential for two, would that then
See,
leave
I
us
I think-
two separate
That would
facilities?
be
Opportunity for
So that's why I would
If
leave
you
it
put
how
the
it's
each-
written, I wouldn't,
You're
I
wanting
think
to
it
go
needs
on
to
the
be
mistake
leave
like
it how
this
it's
is what it
written.
says.
Yes, but I
Needs
still wanna
to
add
be
in, like I
said.
said, the other part about dispensaries. So I think that's, it's kind of clearing
Not
about
more than
that.
one of each.
Would allow a
allow
processor
both.
and a cultivator.
Yeah, then you can have two, and if you, the way it's written, you can have one of each. The way it's written now, as I see it, but I'm not a lawyer, I'm just saying, I would interpret it as
Only one.
only one.
And I know that the intent of the trustees was to allow one of each type. Do you agree?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what the language was in the resolution. Do you have that?
Why?
I do.
Why?
I don't know.
You know, why? I'll ask it 5 times. The same why, or it'll keep going.
There you go.
A domino effect of why.
I see what Ann's saying, or not Ann, Kristen's saying.
Oh, I think we all can see that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I read it
because
as
it
one,
says-
that, you know, because you've got
you read it as
the
one.
broader category of operators, and then you've got the smaller category of cultivators and processors. And if you're only gonna allow one, then is it a,
I understand fully what you're saying. We have to,
Here's what the resolution that the trustees passed, they actually said, find it to be in the best interest of Beavercreek Township to allow one adult use cultivator and one adult use processor licensed under chapter 3780, and then it says, adult use cannabis cultivators and adult use cannabis processors shall be limited to one each. So that was their intent. one
so when you
each.
add the word operators in there, is that broader than just cultivators and processors?
yeah, operators is encompassing in the Ohio Revised Code of all three. That's why it has to say.
That's why he put the language then excluding
The
dispensaries.
operator is the person who's actually operating the
So maybe it should,
facility, whether it's processing or cultivating.
Yeah, because there's three categories.
And it was easier before under the medical marijuana because they were only allowed one.
Yeah, one.
That included both cultivation and processing
processing.
in the same facility, so, yeah.
well, okay, so if you limit it to one cultivator and one processor, what about the other operators?
Now, that's a good question.
The only other operator is a dispensary.
That was my
It says-
question. Are
but
there
Yes.
other
That's why I
operators?
said I would like to see that added into the verbiage, so that's my stance on it.
The
The other one, it says, right now, it says adult use cannabis operators, including cultivators and processors, but excluding adult use cannabis dispensaries.
So there is nothing beyond operators, beyond processors and cultivators?
Cultivators, processors,
And
dispensaries.
dispensaries.
Okay.
Excluded.
Yeah, those are the three all operators.
But I take excluding meaning it doesn't apply to, so is that how their intent means?
No, their intent is that they can't do it.
Because these are
Pull up
uses.
37.
These are saying what their uses
Look at
are.
that And make sure we,
But
Well,
if
I
you
still
want to
say-
add the language
I
that
still
you
wanna add that,
propose to
yeah.
make it more clear,
Yeah.
that you guys can recommend to add that.
Okay.
well, should we pull up 3780.01 and just make sure that we are seeing it the same way there?
This mouse is very sensitive, so excuse me.
So it says adult use cannabis
Oh, wow, she's
operator
fast.
means a level 1 adult use cultivator, a level 2 adult use cultivator, a level 3 use cultivator, an adult use processor, and an adult use dispensary.
So
So,
it
it-
does say them just that
yeah.
way.
And are levels based upon the size?
yeah, levels are based upon the square footage of the facility.
So that might
And
be something
distribution, are they not?
that would be considered then as well.
A level
they're
1
just not
license
address that.
permits an operating facility to have up to 25,000 square feet designated for growing space. Level
Oh,
It
2
also deals
remember
with
that.
distribution.
How much-
You,
sorry.
as a level 3, you're not able to distribute it to a family household. A level 3 adult use cultivator license holder shall not cultivate any adult use cannabis for personal, family, or household use under the license.
Okay.
No, does that include, is it
So is
medical or
one
is
the
that
highest
recreational?
square
Is that
footage
Adult
and it goes down
use.
from there?
It doesn't matter, it's
So level
adult
2
use.
is
Yeah.
more restrictive, level 3 is
Well, what would you do with level 3 then?
for your own use.
It's like a huge,
Well, I mean, you can grow in your own now,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
even if it's not.
I can make a motion.
I'm a federal employee.
and I don't know if
can't.
that's considered level 3 or what, but,
Well, one of the things that they were talking about that's been kind of kicked around, and this might be what addresses, what Jeff had just brought up, is what about a facility that was just like a giant inside area that leased off little bits of property, like a community farm, and then people were going in there and You know, you can grow up to, what, 8 plants for personal use or something like that. So, you know, I rent from, you know, Bob, a space in his facility where I go in there and I grow my 8 plants. And, you know, and he's got the grow lights and the irrigation. And then Ann goes in and rents from Bob, you know, for his 8 plants. I think that might be what's trying to prohibit there. I'm not sure, but,
Would that be considered then more than one cultivation? If
well, I think
somebody-
that's where you can't distribute it back out to individual households and families.
Okay, so that would be like the level 3, okay.
So the language I feel is very messy within how they did the,
Can I ask a question here?
Absolutely.
All this going on, and we're focusing on cultivators
and processors.
and processors.
Correct.
And where do dispensers fit within that? Are they excluded from this?
Correct.
The way that it's written right now that they proposed is excluded.
Okay.
Do we have to open up public?
Well,
At some point,
Yeah.
is there,
We should do that and then we can continue talking.
say this is approved or whatever language, do we need to add language in there as to what category of,
I'm
or
sure
can we
Well,
do
what
that?
level
we
you mean?
could do it
Yeah.
if we
You
wanted
know,
to.
level 1 or level 2, up to a level 2 cultivator, processor,
You
But
could.
by not mentioning it, you're including all 3.
correct.
Correct.
Is there a reason to not include all 3?
well, it's just like when the Siebenthalers, it was a small grow operation that we, and, yeah, I think there was 2 categories at the time, a large grow operation and a small grow operation, and I can't remember, I think we did the small is what they were applying. So now with this level 1, 2, 3, I don't know if we need to, I'm just asking the question, include, set a limit as to
Well,
what level we want as a cultivator or processor.
what would be the benefit of limiting it to level 3? What's the harm?
Well, I don't know what the level's exact, I mean,
So with the medical marijuana, under what was permitted before, there was no stipulation for large or small. It just said the medical marijuana production and processing
We
facilities.
didn't spend a lot of time on it. We were trying to get it ready
Um,
because they wanted to apply. So we didn't think through it any further
Sure.
than we didn't want them selling on the corner. I mean, that's just really as far as. we went
Understood.
To restrict it. Now we're thinking a little bit differently, right?
Got it. I'm just saying to match what was, because Bob was mentioning that there was a large and a small before, and we were only gonna permit a small, but it wasn't written that way, is all I was trying to say.
No, I get it.
because there was limited, and I think the applicant or whoever was wanting to do it was applying for a small license or.
Right.
I just don't know if we need to differentiate that now as to the size of cultivating or processing.
So that's what my question is. What's the benefit? What are the pros and the cons of doing of restricting a level 3? I kind of get why we might
Well, I
not
don't know what
want
the
to,
levels are, I don't
but.
know what level, she started
Oh.
to say what level 1 was, but I don't know what level 2
I thought I
is
heard
versus
what
what.
level 3 was. I'm sorry. I thought I heard it.
3790.
Okay,
It's,
so,
level 1's defined in 378001, number
12, yeah.
19. On page 3, it says, level 1 adult use cultivator meaning either a person or who has a certificate of operation as a level 1 cultivator is licensed under pursuant, blah, blah, blah.
New cultivator means
so what
either
it
person.
is, so a level.
So you gotta go to 3712.
Yeah, 3712 says the level 1 can distribute, transfer, and sell adult use cannabis to other adult use cannabis operators. Can acquire seeds, clones, plants, and other genetic materials. Level 1 or level 2 adult use cultivator license shall not cultivate any adult use cannabis for personal, family, or household use under the license. That's the statute defining level 1 and 2
Cultivators.
are cultivators. Then 3 says they can distribute, transfer, and sell adult use cannabis to other adult use cannabis operators, acquire seeds, clones, plants, and other genetic materials. A level 3 adult use cultivator license holder shall not cultivate any adult use.
15,000 square
It's the
foot.
same thing.
Yeah,
It
it
is
says,
the same thing, isn't it?
It's the same thing.
Yeah, so that's clear as mud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
said
Yeah,
that
just
the-
see under level 1, you can have up to 100,000 square foot, level 2, you're down to 15,000 square foot.
Does it say that?
Pardon?
Does it say that?
yeah, right here.
Yeah, right here, that's why I was just looking at this. where you just highlighted.
And what code are you looking at here?
This is the Ohio Revised Code.
No, I mean, what is this?
3780,
Oh.
number 19 and 20.
All right, so it is a size thing.
Yes.
So that's why I don't know if we need to add into this what level, up to a level
I think
or
we
up to a
could.
level
I
3.
mean, I think
You
we
don't
can-
want the township to become the go-to place for?
I don't want to smell it. I mean,
Have you ever driven in Yellow Springs? Like when I
Oh,
started
jeez.
working over there at the Greene County ESD, I was like, why is there that's such a skunk? And then I was like, oh, I didn't realize that they had a
Yeah.
big grow facility over there.
So,
Well,
I mean,
as far as the intent of this text change,
Yes.
do we really care about the levels? I mean, what you're looking for is a pretty major modification where you're gonna basically ban the
Correct.
entire
And
level.
I'm not,
And
I
I'm
know
not sure
the,
that we've,
the resolution that the trustees passed was not this restrictive at all.
Right.
That's my only concern is,
Well, that's, I don't mind
not
it how
like
it's
we've
written. Like I
done.
said, all I want added in there is the
Yeah.
dispensary.
yeah, it's adding quite a bit of restriction to what was already there.
it's a pretty major modification to this. I think it'd probably have to go all the way back through the process.
You need to open up for public input, and then we can come back.
See if there's anybody for or against, and then we'll deliberate some
Okay,
more.
at this time, I'd like to open the public portion of the meeting. Anyone for want to speak?
Lori?
Anyone against want to speak?
Lori?
Lori?
Anybody who doesn't really care want to speak?
Lori?
Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the open portion of the meeting.
So the board would like to deliberate some more, okay.
Okay, go ahead. Do you want to hear my language?
So
wrote it
I-
down like I did homework.
Well, I mean, if you all feel like we're ready to entertain a motion and then discuss it, then let's do it. Go ahead.
Well, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I'll entertain it.
Okay.
Pose it.
You make it.
Oh, okay, I'll pose it then. Hold on.
Is it gonna be an
I know I wrote
entertaining
it.
motion?
It is.
And remember, I'm a little rusty here, so.
So,
we all are.
You want me to do it?
Kristen,
Yes.
I just have one question before you move
Okay.
into your motion, if I may.
Yes.
I was listening earlier to what you were saying to be proposed as excluding the cultivate, or the processing, or dispensary, sorry, we've talked about all too many of them.
Yeah, there's lots of them.
Where would you propose that part being? In the actual where it says permitted uses, or in the definition
Well,
section?
so as, the way, and however, I did it in two different
Parts,
parts of it, kind of, just because I wasn't sure like how it would flow the best. So, one of them I said, adult use cannabis cultivation processing facilities as defined in this resolution and further regulated in chapter 3780 of the Ohio Revised Code should be limited to no more than one adult use cannabis cultivation processing facility within the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township, Greene County, Ohio. Adult use cannabis dispensaries shall not be permitted within the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township. No more than one adult use cannabis dispensary shall be permitted within the incorporated area of Beavercreek Township, and no dispensary may operate in the
talking
unincorporated
dispensaries.
area.
We're not talking dispensaries.
I kind of mixed it in there.
I know.
But otherwise, if we were gonna do it, I would just wanna add it at the end of that section where it says, if you wanna go back to whatever's written and just.
and the only
add in,
the only reason I asked that is because like in our principal
shall not be permitted.
permitted uses, we don't I don't think anywhere within our code do we say a prohibited use in the permitted uses.
Yeah, well, and that's what this one says, adult use cannabis dispensaries shall not be permitted within the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township, so that was it. And I was adding that on to after that second section or whatever that would talk about
I'm sorry, I'll bring that back up.
But I think you can say that instead of
Like
not,
right here. there,
not
after
permitted,
that.
you can say exclude. And I think we tried to do that.
It's already by definition excluded. It's not in either of those articles, is it?
Correct.
So why do we need to say that?
Because then they can turn around and come back and say, okay, now we're gonna
It's
rewrite this.
by
and we're gonna
definition
say
not
that we're
in-
adding it in.
It, by definition, it's not in those two
Let me,
statements.
let me throw some language out. If we change the second to the last phrase, beginning with the word shall in 1602, to shall be limited to no more than one cannabis processing facility and one cultivation facility operating within the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township.
I think that would
Is that,
encompass
Don,
it.
does that get us That's what you think it should be.
That's what it should be. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what the intent was.
Well, but then after that, after I mentioned the adult, that's where I had added originally about not permitting dispensaries in the unincorporated portion of the.
That's redundant.
It is redundant,
It's
redundant.
already excluding adult use cannabis dispensaries.
however.
How would you interpret though, saying it's excluding?
Here we
So
go.
does that mean it's not a part of this section?
like
And that
saying
means
you-
then we can go back in and create a whole nother amendment to this that then specifically talks about dispensaries? That's what I'm not clear
Oh, I see
on.
what you're saying.
What other things do you want to exclude? I mean,
You're
it's
excluding
not
it
in
from
the
this, but
definition
then you
there.
could add it into some other place, is what I just am.
No,
Right.
what they're
do
excluding
that?
I see
from
what you're
is they're excluding dispensaries from the definition of operators.
So we're not, it's not, so then it's not really touching on. from how I-
Operators are out of the picture under this section. It's only about cultivators and processors.
So then.
So if we
go
limit it to
back-
one processor and one cultivator,
You're actually defining who the operators are by saying specifically cultivators and processors.
yes.
Right.
You're excluding by definition, because you didn't mention them, any other operator. Period, black and white.
Okay.
By current legal definition. If the law changes, that's something different.
But I think what Mr. Hill has added, though, by specifying shall be limited to not more than one adult use cannabis processor and one adult use cannabis cultivation facility
Operating within the unincorporated.
operating within the
Yes.
unincorporated, it's basically saying that's what it's limited to. Those
It's
two.
not encompassing of a dispensary.
Correct.
Excluding dispensaries,
Correct. Oh, I don't know what happened there.
meaning then you can go back in and say.
What else do you want to exclude?
Just putting-
No.
What else do you want to exclude? I mean, you've already excluded it by not calling it out.
There's one over in Beavercreek, right across from the green.
In the city, but not
Yeah,
the
I'm just
township.
saying, so.
Because
But
that's
that's
why
because
we
they permitted it.
Yeah, they permitted
So
that.
that's what I'm saying, that's why. I
But we're
would like
not
to see
permitting it. The
language.
trustees have specifically by resolution not permitted
Said-
dispensaries.
Okay.
The city allowed a dispensary and then they took flack for it, but it was too late.
I think there should be something in there about the size, but that's just me.
Okay.
The level.
I'd like to make a motion.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Well, are we there?
I think so.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to the trustees the approval of the proposed text changes with the modification that in the second to last phrase of Article 16, Section 1602, that the language be added, shall be limited to no more than one cannabis processor
I think it's,
and one cannabis cultivator operating within the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township.
Jim, can I ask you to amend or change your motion for it to say adult use cannabis processor and adult use cannabis facility? Just because
Adult
that's,
use cannabis cultivation facility.
yes, so that way it's consistent with the definition.
So I need to restate it?
Please.
Okay. I'll amend that to suggest that we vote to recommend to the trustees that the second to the last phrase of 1602 shall be limited to no more than one adult use cannabis processor and one adult use cultivator operating within the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township, and the rest of the proposed text amendments be approved.
I'll second the motion.
Is that you, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
can we add, and now we're in discussion.
We're in discussion.
Jim seconded it.
He
He
did
seconded.
second it.
But then you can discuss.
We
the-
can
After
Oh,
second.
I've already discussed it. I want to
She,
discuss.
so I want to
Everyone's
clarify
judging.
right now, so everybody is clear.
Okay,
that-
here's what I'm saying,
that-
ambiguity.
Yes, that Kristen would like to add
I'm very passionate, but it's fine. I just want
excluding
out of the form.
dispensaries.
But it already says excluding adult use cannabis dispensaries.
I know, I just am
I agree.
clarifying
Okay.
that she would like that. Bob now has an issue, he would like
going forward,
And
that he's
Jim had said something
mumbling
about-
in my ear over here.
You know, alls I would like, you know, I have nothing, I think the motion's good, but I would like to add into that motion whatever it was, level 2 dispensary and level 2 cultivator, or not dispensary, cultivator and processor.
How are we prepared to scope that back to a level 2? Based on what?
Based on, I don't want a 100,000 square foot marijuana operation in the township.
I think that's a significant modification to what they submitted here.
We're still
Why they're going
you're
on
still
the
allowed
chapter
to do it if you
3780,
want, if you
I'm
want
just,
to.
Because you're constraining it, that's all. So is that not gonna require them to go back and restart the process by putting
it
that?
still is falling within section, or chapter 3780 of the Ohio Revised Code. I'm just specifying what, I mean, that's my opinion, I just, there's a huge difference between a 15,000 square foot and a 100,000 square foot cultivating, processor, plant, whatever.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue that, I agree, 100%.
And I don't know how to, I would rather somehow, if someone wants to, you know, have a processing and cultivation facility in the township, I'd rather be on the smaller side than on the larger side. That's, I don't know if there's some other way to do it, if it comes before us before, you know, I'm just afraid if this goes through and then someone comes before us, then we don't have anything to say that you can only do a level 2. I don't know. That's my concern.
I mean, I will tell you that, quite frankly, there wasn't a discussion with the trustee, like when they had this in the various meetings, there was not a discussion of the limitation of size.
Right.
Was there discussion
They didn't think about it, or, I mean, it's kind of like apartment complexes, you know, you can have a 3-unit or you can have a 300-unit.
Well, I can't tell you whether they thought about it or not, I can just tell you they didn't
discuss.
there was not a
I don't know
discussion
if it's an
about
oversight, if
limiting
they
the
just don't
size.
think it's important, but I just,
So I think you bring up a good point. Was there discussion about the fact of what the tax benefits would be to the township if there was a larger facility versus a smaller one? Since you talked about tax.
They talked about them for dispensaries, but they didn't, I don't recall any time that they talked about them for size of the other ones.
No, there wasn't the tax issue was restricted solely to the discussion to the dispensaries.
what's your opinion, Jim, on that? You don't think it's necessary, or you?
I think it's a technical and a philosophical question that probably ought to come through the process. In other words, if we're going to make that kind of I don't see that as a modification. I see it as an addition. It's an additional condition. Now, do we have the power to do that? Hell, I don't know. But at the same time, there's no public here to argue that one way or the other.
Well, except that I closed the
Or does
open
it
portion
force
of
the
the
trustees to
meeting as somebody
reconsider
walked in.
the text amendment?
Just go back to it being as simple as this is a text amendment. They make a recommendation on what they think should be in the text amendment, and then it's, as always, the trustees'
That is the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just thinking we have one shot at it if we're gonna do it. They may decide, no, we're gonna scratch at it, which that's their prerogative.
so,
And if I was going to do it, I would do it as a next paragraph that basically said, such cultivators, adult cannabis cultivators and processors shall be limited to level 2 and level 3. And then they can go that direction or they can not go that direction, but it doesn't muck up what we've accomplished otherwise.
No.
Level one
is
had
what
the big,
has
Okay.
bigger.
Are you saying that it would be easily severable then if they decided, no, we don't want to go with that?
I don't want to muck up what we've accomplished so far. If you want to consider that additional language, I'm not sure of the appropriateness of it. I'm not sure.
So
I don't know much about it. I'll just be honest.
And
So,
I think we have, as a board, one shot at doing this, and.
well, and I respect that.
Because I
That's-
was really about it.
Pardon?
I did a lot of research on it when it was on the ballot, so.
So what,
So-
I mean,
So,
From a procedural standpoint, because you're guys asking, does it have to go back, does it have not to go back?
it's
So
gonna have
the
to go back
reason-
up the food chain.
Well, no, I don't think so. The resolution of the trustees, the statute says that a political subdivision can decide whether or not they want to allow these things. Okay? And so the resolution of the trustees was to allow cultivator and processor. Not,
A
and
blanket-
then-
a blanket statement.
And then directed, I guess orders, not the right word, directed the staff to come up with language for the zoning resolution, to use within the zoning resolution. So, I mean, you now are looking at, this is the proposed language of what will be in the zoning resolution. I think that you guys can propose what you want, and then that would go before the board, and similarly in an open meeting. And, then they can do as they see fit. Again, that was frankly not discussed, before the board.
But I would agree with
opportunity that
Jim
we
that it would
have.
be nice to have that as a next
Standalone.
down paragraph.
Yeah, I do think,
And if you were to put that next paragraph, if you were able to come up with the verbiage for that, can you add in, I'm already beating you to it, Kristen. Can you add in the part that Kristen wants about the dispensary? Excluding the dispensary. Be nice.
That just assures that there's no loopholes, that's all I'm
I
saying.
know you don't want any loopholes.
Okay, I'm gonna read the proposed language. It says that adult use cannabis operators, including cultivators and processors, but excluding adult use cannabis dispensaries. Are we gonna say that again?
No, I don't think so. I think that you would say, adult use cultivators, adult use cannabis cultivation facility, and adult use cannabis processor, facility shall be, limited to whichever ones you want to do, level you want to do, level 1, level 2, however you want to put that in there. I mean,
No more than one adult use cannabis cultivation, processing facility within so no more than one adult use cultivation and processing facility.
I think that's.
We've
what
got that
Jim had
already.
on the- Jim
Yeah,
already
okay.
said that.
But now the discussion is, do we want, is the wish of the commission to limit that further in saying you want to limit it to
A level 2 or
level,
level 3.
level 2 or level 3? Did they give it a 3 for, I know they did for
Level 3
cultivator.
was ambiguous. It was,
Well, I mean.
I didn't know if they did it for
level-
processor or
no, I
not.
think
No,
it's
they
just
didn't.
cultivators that
Level
have.
What are we trying to eliminate? Level ones?
yes,
Processor, I don't think has a,
Say
Yeah,
to
it's just
include a level
cultivators.
2 only.
excluding dispensary.
Is that what you want, level 2 only, or you want a level 3?
You gotta look in 378012 to get the,
for the 3.
Yep.
Yeah, just, can you click in that?
Well,
That's
378013 is the,
3.
which doesn't say anything.
That's distribute, transfer, and sell.
One of the other references showed the size
Acquire
differences.
seeds, phones, plants. Is that all
That's
you have to
number
do?
That
Yeah.
was the last screen we had back there about the level 1 and level 2. I mean, I know it was 100,000 square foot and one,
did they change it for 13 and?
Yeah, 12 and 13 say something different, I think. No, they don't.
Well, they kind of do. It looked like it was different, like that other one up there on the top.
I'm gonna go back and
How
forth a
can we
little bit.
separate 1 and 2 based on 378012?
Okay, so the first sentence changes, and the last sentence changes.
It says may do
Just
either
by
of the
calling it
following
out as a
versus
two
what
or
is the other one
Notwithstanding
says?
the conflicting holder of a current valid level 1 or level 2
Where's the
cultivator license.
previous paragraph reference where you had, that broke down the sizes?
That's one back,
You have to pick
still.
one or either, meaning you
yeah,
can
he
do.
needs to go back to the,
I'll go back in just a
Context,
second, I
yeah.
mean,
yeah, that's fine.
as provided in Division B of the section, the holder.
Ambiguous.
So B is what changes. A level 1 or 2 adult use cultivator shall not cultivating adult use cannabis for household.
Ambiguous language.
I don't really see what changes, it just words it differently.
Well, then you could just say in there to only allow level 2.
A level 1 or level 2 adult use cultivator license holder shall not cultivate any adult use cannabis for personal, family, or household under the same license. And then if you go to the 3, a level 3 adult use
Same thing.
cultivator shall not cultivate any adult use cannabis for personal.
So basically, it doesn't matter what level you are, you can't do it for personal use.
Correct. So, but I'm not sure what, I really don't know by this,
One says either.
what, let me go back to, I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong
O1.
back. There. So there gives level 1, 2, and 3 cultivators. However, 1 and 2 have size limitations,
Right.
3 does not.
There it is,
Right.
100,000 square foot versus
15
15,000.
and a 2. But I don't know what a 3 is.
I feel like a 3, is that a 3 like the most restricted?
It's
Is it going backwards?
unlimited, I'm guessing.
We're back to the little
Do you agree?
paragraph or addendum to it. He's getting it.
And you got level,
Go down on that.
yeah.
Yeah, use it person.
Okay, before I shall be,
Person licensed under percent,
shall exclude.
378013.
So what's the right size, Bob, that you're thinking that,
Pardon?
what size do you want to
I-
look at?
This thing runs
Well, I was
around in
doing
a
the
circle.
level 2, the 15,000 square foot. I mean,
He just thought that first one being so
Well, that's
darn
the only, that's the
big.
one that's huge, and that's the only one that
Huge.
actually has verbiage that limits size, is the smaller.
What,
It's the
what code
smaller.
section defines
To
these?
including only a level 2, I mean, you just add that in.
It was 3780.1.
12 or 1.
11.
Wait, 3780,
It cracked me up with all the questions.
Point
they
1
asked.
is the top level.
Speed and velocity.
.11 is level 1, .12 is level 2, and .13 was level 3.
so if I say 3780, it covers all of these,
Yes.
okay?
3780.1
Point 1.
covers all of them by definition. Got
Okay.
it? Did you add?
What was
the
it?
little
Cultivator, right?
I did.
Thank you. Okay,
He knows when I'm gonna get out of here.
all right, we have a motion on the table, there were two.
We're doing Google.
Wait a minute, you're Googling,
We're
you
doing the
still working
Google.
on it? Okay,
Yep.
hold on.
He's trying to find the difference between,
1 and 2.
I'm
Right,
gonna
2 and
exclude
3.
level 1. I'm not gonna talk about level 2 and level 3. I'm gonna exclude level 1.
Just excluding
We
level
have to-
1.
We have
That's the
to,
easy way to do this.
we have to get the motion that's
Yeah, I'm
on
fine
the
with that.
table, we have to defeat what
I'm
we.
gonna
we've
withdraw
already
the motion
done.
that's on the
Oh,
table.
perfect, thank
Or you
you.
could say
sorry, what was
only level.
I'm withdrawing the motion that's on the table.
What motion? We already forgot
The
about
one
it.
that you seconded.
That's what we're trying to find out, but if we,
That's why I say only level 2.
It may be in the administrative code, the differences.
See, it doesn't even include level 3. It keeps only talking about 1 and 2.
That's just straight from the code. I don't know.
I would then just acknowledge level, whatever, level 2, because that's
I
the,
think these codes were written by a committee.
You think?
I think they were written
see how
by-
well this committee's doing.
I think they were, I would.
Well, Google let us down.
well, that's a
We
theory.
tried the Google.
That's a theory.
All right, back up.
All right, so,
So Jim, you withdrew your motion, is that correct?
I withdrew it. I can make a new one, or at least I could try to make a new one. Okay, I'll make a new motion. The motion would be that the proposed text amendments be, that we recommend that the proposed text amendments be adopted by the trustees.
Okay, give me just a second to catch up.
so, I'm listening.
Okay,
As written, with the following exceptions, or modifications, with the following modifications.
following. Mods, okay,
The first would be that the second to the last phrase regarding section 1602 be amended to, shall be limited to no more than one, the number one, adult use cannabis processor, and one, the number one, adult use cannabis cultivator operating within the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township, Greene County, Ohio. The second modification,
Okay, hang on. Okay.
She's almost there.
And for consistency, you probably want to call that a
Cultivation
cultivation
facility.
facility.
and
Your
a,
head you did.
and a processing facility?
No, it's just a processor according to that. I'm just looking at the
Processor
words.
and cultivation facility.
Okay.
Yeah. One's a processor.
Do you
one's
have
a
that changed, Lori?
cultivation facility.
She's
What was
getting,
that?
So,
read to us what you have so far.
Just
I
using the
have motion
definition.
that the proposed text amendment be adopted by the trustees as written with the following modifications. One, that the second to last phrase be amended to no, with Article 1602, be amended to no more than one adult use cannabis processor and one adult use cannabis cultivator.
cultivation
Cultivation
facility.
Cultivation
Facility.
facility.
And then the rest of the sentence.
Yeah, within the unincorporated, then what is already there.
Unchanged.
Within-
Right.
The unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township, Greene County, Ohio.
And now he has more.
Okay, give me just a second.
And then you're gonna go two, right?
Yes. Let me know when you're ready.
16, I just want to jot that down real quick. Okay, 2,
The second modification I would propose is adding a next paragraph to the section regarding 1602.02 to add the following language. The foregoing shall exclude level one processors, or I'm sorry, adult cannabis processors and adult use cultivating facilities as defined by Ohio Revised Code, Section 3780. Comma,
okay, hang on.
So for the purposes of your motion, there is not a level one processor, only a level one cultivator.
I told you I didn't know much about this.
I know.
That's okay.
I'm trying to help through it.
No.
We're getting there.
So you'd only exclude the level one cultivator, cultivation facility.
So a cultivator takes a lot of space, whereas a processor is a defined plant.
Yeah,
Okay,
Oh, so you're only doing the call.
adding a next paragraph to
One
the
of the
amendment that
processors
states
There
the
isn't.
foregoing
Oh,
shall
okay.
exclude adult use cannabis processors and adult use cannabis cultivation facilities.
They're suggesting we take out Cult-
Processor.
cultivation facilities.
No, we're
No,
taking
take out
the
processor.
Oh, we're taking out processors.
Taking out adult
Yes.
shall exclude adult use
Shall exclude level one
Cultivator.
adult use cultivating facilities,
Cultivation facility.
cultivation facilities.
And it's a cannabis cultivation facility.
Okay,
Specific.
It is.
okay, so adding a
It's
next
not written in
paragraph
the
to the
language,
amendment that states the foregoing shall exclude level 1 adult use cannabis processors.
no, adult use cannabis
cultivation
cultivation
facility.
facility.
Cultivation
Okay.
facilities.
No processors.
Okay, cultivation facilities. Comma,
No, that's it.
No.
oh, was
That's
that it?
As defined by Ohio Revised Code, Section 3780.
.01.
Okay. And then did we have anything else after?
It's apparently 3780.01,
Oh, 1. Okay. And then
Comma.
Do you have a third or,
comma,
oh, comma, okay.
as well as
I gotta
any,
flip the page here, okay, go ahead.
as well as any dispensaries. Period.
You'd probably want to call that, if you're going to do that, just so there's no loopholes, adult use cannabis dispensaries. So
He's
you-
right.
Instead of just saying dispensaries, you want to do adult use
Adult
cannabis.
Adult use cannabis dispensaries.
Okay, read it back to us, Lori.
Okay,
Is that an issue with
what are
the
we
other
amending
sentence,
that to?
Dawn?
What was it you just said?
Sounded okay.
Add, instead of as well as
As
any,
well as
any adult use cannabis dispensaries.
adult use.
Still looking in the damn code.
That's the only thing I can see about the difference, that paragraph.
Read it back to
Do you
us.
have anything else, or was just those two?
No, that was it, right?
Okay.
It's enough.
We have a motion that the proposed text amendment be adopted by the trustees as written with the following modifications. One, that the second to last
Social
phrase in Article 16-1602
Whatever that is.
be amended to no more than one adult-use cannabis processor and one adult-use cannabis cultivation facility within
The rest of the phrase.
Yeah.
unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township, Greene County, Ohio.
Yes.
Okay. And two, proposed adding a next paragraph to the amendment that states, the foregoing shall exclude adult use, level 1 adult use cannabis cultivation facilities as defined by Ohio Revised Code 3780.01, as well as any adult use cannabis dispensaries. Does that get it?
Period.
Period.
All
I
right,
got that part.
that's the
Regs,
motion.
fuck.
That's the motion.
That's the
So that
motion.
was Jim. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion?
These are
We
my
ready?
stuff, right? I didn't want to steal your stuff.
We ready for?
I have a procedural question for Dawn. I just need to go back and visit this again. So do we have to accept, deny anything based on what he just said? Based on the motion that's on the table, do we have to clean this up and then do this motion? Do we have to defeat this?
No, because this is the new motion.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
withdrew
we
the
have
other
to
one.
withdraw.
No, I don't mean that motion that
Okay.
was just on. The proposed language, does it cover what they brought to us?
And more.
Yes,
Okay, I just want to make sure.
yes, I would agree. It covers what they brought to you
Okay.
and maybe a little more.
And maybe a little more. All right. Okay,
We ready?
we're ready.
Ms. Horton?
Yes.
Mr. Geis?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
I.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Dalton?
Yes,
All right.
all
You
right.
like how I pretended I was like hesitant?
I know, right? Okay. Next on the agenda are the township emails.
And you mentioned this at the beginning of the meeting, that we had the public records request and everything else. I've been pretty much instructed from here on out to be communicating via the new township emails that everybody is pretty much signed up for. I know you're working through
I still don't have mine done.
some things, and we'll have to, as an exception to that rule, until you can get that worked out. Bob, have you had any?
I knew I was coming. I mean,
Old people.
I haven't, just.
And I understand why you haven't.
And you understand why I haven't?
But yeah, you sent me an email that said why you had.
Did I miss that email?
I'm still
What did it
waiting.
say?
You mean to
know,
tell me I
don't
wasn't the
understand-
last holdout?
No, what am I missing? What, I don't remember.
No,
what
it's
There's
you
an
just the
said.
fact that
Bob
I'm,
says he's not been reappointed yet, so why should I sign up for the email if I'm not gonna be reappointed?
I mean, that's basically my, you know,
I guess it's fair.
Well,
I mean,
let me
I've
go to
been
the big elephant in the
expired
room.
since March. I don't.
Why hasn't he been reappointed?
Why hasn't it?
Yeah,
I
what's going
frankly
on?
have no idea
I-
why.
Who's in
It
charge
just
of that?
hasn't.
Not me.
I mean, it's a,
I've told,
Last time it was Lori and Ed, so I don't know, like.
so I have said that we have expired members. I have your guys' application for
yeah.
them.
I mean, I
And
just, I'm, the only reason I'm
I
doing
will,
that is
I
to
will
push
ask
them.
Ryan and see
Yeah,
why and why.
push them to
can't
do
just
it.
be
I mean,
brought
I'm
to the
not
next
adverse to
meeting.
doing it, but I just, you know,
It's just done. I mean,
I'm
it's been
tired of,
several months.
at their convenience. I mean, come on, it doesn't take but,
No, I will ask Ryan
Yeah, I mean,
and
that's-
see, just to be,
that's the only
get it on
reason
the
I
next
haven't. I
agenda,
mean-
which would unfortunately not be until the first week in January,
that's
but,
fine.
yeah.
Oh, and I didn't talk about that. I can't, I would like to do the minutes too. Is that time to say that?
What?
Oh, that's the
I
next
didn't
one.
yeah, that's the next one.
Okay.
What?
So we'll work on that.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, I will make a point to ask,
I appreciate
to
it.
see, okay.
Okay, so we'll have a report on that next time we come together.
Yes, ma'am.
Or he'll be raising his hand.
Or something, yes.
Okay, all right. Next on the agenda is the upcoming January 2nd, 2025 meeting being potentially moved to January the 9th.
So I have a couple of, here's the calendar for next year on your screens that we've put together based on, currently what we've previously done. The two highlighted in red are ones that are potential ones that you all may want to move.
I'd move them a week.
Yeah, so we can move them both a week forward or backwards, however you look at it. So the January 2nd would be moved to the 9th, and then January 3rd would be moved to the, 10th?
July 3rd.
Or July 3rd would be moved to the
Your
10th.
language, do you move them forward or do you move them back?
I think we
If
move
you
them
just move them to
forward.
July 10th and that you.
Yeah, that's why I came up with the date. So then with that change, and if you would like, we can approve that calendar with those two changes, moving the January 2nd to January 9th, 2025, and July 3rd to July 10th, 2025. Then I'll finalize this and get it sent out. The ones that I had in the office when I took over were calendar formats, which were a little confusing because they had BZA and they had everything. BZA is going to have one, zoning commission is going to have one that will look just like this. And yours also includes on it, just so that everybody's on the same page, all of RPCC's dates on that calendar. So you'll see what regional planning dates are, as well as yours. They're in a separate column, of course, underneath. But that way, everybody will know what it is, applicants will know what it is, and it just helps with everybody knowing the schedules.
This is administrative. You do need a motion, and do we need to approve
I
our
would just-
calendar?
I'd move to approve the calendar. I would, because that way it's official.
Yeah.
With the modifications.
Yeah, with the modifications.
Of January 2nd
Do we
to
need a
January
debate
9th and July, okay, yeah, okay.
July.
Somebody,
Like,
yeah.
whether or not
Do
we
you,
wanna do
do you
that.
follow that? Somebody's gonna say that in just a minute. Who would like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the calendar with the modification that the January 2nd, 2025 meeting be moved to January 9th, and that the July 3rd, 2025 scheduled meeting be moved to July 10th.
Okay.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Please.
Well, I mean,
All
Can we
right,
say
Ms.
similarly
Horton,
written? Yes.
Mr. Geist,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Ms. Gall.
yes.
Well, thank you, and I'll get that finalized and sent out.
End of the year work. Do we need to anticipate that 2025 has any
Driving in.
members that need to be reinstated in 2025, excluding the discussion I just heard from Mr. Geist?
I will check that and send that out to you in an email.
Next question that I have is, with regard to the work session we had about policy, we're supposed to visit the chair being on an annual basis, looking at that. So do we need to do that today as an end of the year?
Generally, that's
change.
accomplished at the,
Typically, it's not the first meeting of the year, is how,
Yeah.
the statute
first
says
one?
the first meeting of the year.
Okay, so be thinking about who you might want to nominate for chair position in January, on January 9th. We'll have that take place, okay?
Is the rule that we have to nominate somebody every year, or is the rule that it has to be changed every year, it has to rotate?
That's a good question.
I believe it said it had to be,
I don't
I don't
even know.
remember
We've
exactly
always
what the
just-
language
I don't
said.
even know if it's a
We've
rule,
always
is it?
just done it at the beginning. of
well,
the
to answer your question, I believe it just says that it has to be visited at the first
be
part of the.
re-upped.
That's what we've been
Yes.
doing, but we need to make sure we do it because
Yeah, I'll double check that as
we
well.
had a new policy.
But I don't think there's ever been anything that it has to.
There's no term limits.
Yeah.
You wish.
See, you do a good enough job, Jeff, you have it for life.
Right, exactly. All right. Approval of the minutes for 10-3, are we ready to move on?
If you are, yes?
Yeah, approval of the minutes for 10-3 and 11-7. I recall that the minutes for 10-3 on both of these, we had received them like too quick for us. We tabled them, I think. Is that what we
You
did?
tabled the 10-3 last time,
10-3
the last
we
meeting.
tabled. And then.
So you've had those a
the
little over a month.
11-7 is new, right?
Yeah.
So the one where, I've been looking for the video.
Okay.
For them, and I wasn't able to find them to compare the minutes to that.
Okay.
Last time I didn't have enough time. Now I'm looking for the video. And I think that given the public records review, that I would really like to spend time making certain that the minutes that I've approved, or that I vote on, I've taken the time to do that.
Okay.
I would move that we table the review of the October minutes and the November minutes until the next meeting, so that people have a chance to further analyze those minutes,
And the video.
The recordings.
It's up there.
including
So
recordings.
if you go, I hope this will help maybe out Ann a little bit.
Yeah, so I can
So
get there.
here's the website. Go to government.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Go to,
Andy, would you mind, since you have our emails, would you mind sending that link in the
just send
email
the
maybe?
link.
sure, but I was, just in case
Except
you,
Bob.
Wait,
Yeah.
Ann doesn't have.
agendas and meeting, agendas and minutes. And if you scroll down to zoning commission,
Yeah,
right here you are, November 7th, there's the media.
all right, there's the media. Oh, it's the media.
Yep, proceed to site. There it is.
All right.
That was a long one.
I can't wait to listen to it.
And so that's where they live.
Okay,
I can send you that,
please send the link.
that link to where they
Do
are.
we need a vote on that to table?
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jim
I
made the
think
motion.
you made the motion. I'll second that.
Thank you.
Ms. Horton?
Yes.
Mr. Geist?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Absolutely.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Stalter?
Yes. I feel like they had one more thing.
There's always one more thing.
There is always one more
Okay.
thing. Oh,
I make a motion
yes.
that we adjourn.
No, I'm not ready to adjourn. I love this.
Wait, there's a motion.
Um,
I'm tempted.
the last text change.
I don't know what you're talking
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna bring it up anyway.
about. Okay, gotcha.
So, when I signed the last resolution,
Mm-hmm.
it dawned on me that the trustees had voted on the trees.
Oh, well, I know, now I know what you're
Street
talking
Oh,
trees?
from the ones that we talked about where they were.
Yeah, I wasn't here. I watched the video, so I found that video. Why I can't find this video, I have no idea. It was green.
I was the chair of that meeting.
Right, and so,
Oh, yeah, because she was in.
yeah, so was that resolution signed?
No, not by me.
I thought, yeah, I don't think, because he was the one that was chairing it. That's true. Was it ever signed?
No.
I don't remember.
Which meeting?
The
was
street
that?
trees.
What were we talking about?
I
I
don't
was in
remember when
Canada,
it
so
was.
it was probably the August meeting.
Yeah, you were gone after that
I was-
meeting,
I
weren't
was
you?
gone.
Yeah, you emailed me and I
It was in summer.
emailed you back that I was out and would be back, and then I never heard anything. It just slipped my mind, and then the trustees.
Are you questioning the validity of what occurred because it wasn't signed? I mean, is that an issue?
That
That's what
doesn't
I'm
affect the
asking.
validity
It
of it,
doesn't,
no.
so as long as the
We just need to
records
make
are
sure it gets
clean.
signed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
records are
but I would just, make sure it gets
Legally,
signed,
it
but
should be
Yeah.
signed.
Well,
I was in Canada, I
So
think.
you think legally it would have to be signed.
well,
It completes the case.
keeps it clean.
I mean, there's nothing statutorily that says that it has to go in writing and signed to the trustees. It just, the recommendation has to be presented, and it was presented
Okay,
and passed.
okay. I'll take that motion now. Oh, wait, what?
I guess the other question I have real quick is, until this impasse is resolved regarding Mr. Geist, how do we communicate with him without
Oh, with the email, yeah.
getting in trouble?
Well, I mean, So you can, technically, you shouldn't be communicating amongst each other, three or more of you,
Right.
about
The merits of the cases.
the business of, the zoning commission. If you need to contact, him one-on-one, you can certainly do that anyways. If it's just about scheduling of the meeting or something along those lines, I think until, like I said, it would have to be the January meeting to
Yeah,
get that
that's
on.
fine.
Okay,
I mean, just use the email you're currently using.
she's ready for your motion, Joe.
I'm over it.
Okay, I would move that we adjourn this meeting.
One second.
Okay, we're ready.
I seconded.
Oh, no, you seconded,
Oh.
but did you have something else?
No, we're ready.
I was ready.
Okay.
Please, Lori, stop
I
asking anything else. I haven't even eaten
Ms.
dinner.
Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Geist,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Ms. Stalter.
And I have
Yes.
roosters waiting.
Oh, look
It
at
was
you.
already done.
Oh, okay. That's-
5-piece boneless.
Throw this in there.